So we went over Rabbi Steinberg's statement that even a terminally ill patient is suffering terribly. Um, and ask in a clear and unambiguous manner that he be killed. You can't do it. You can't actively kill somebody. Um, so this is reminiscent of when you talk about palliative care and mercy killing. You have to remember that in 1939, the T4 program, the Germans, they organized secret killing operation targeting disabled children. They basically encouraged parents of children with disabilities to admit their young children to specialized pediatric clinics where they were actually not clinics, they were killing wards. So palliative care is dangerous because in certain cases they have gone overboard, most notably in Germany in 1939. Rabbi Abram Steinberg has a beautiful statement here. The fact that people are suffering, we have to find solutions. I think if we go back to the two major principles, value of life and principle of autonomy, we ought to find a balancing road. But if we accept the principle about life as an inherent value, it should never be breached. That is the limiting factor in what we could do for patients. Once the taboo of taking someone's life is breached, it is very hard to control. Inherently unrelated to the consequences, there's never an ethical justification to take another person's life actively, deliberately. It doesn't matter what the reason for doing it is. Meaning active. If you do it in a passive way, that's different. He also says in many cases it is not a fully competent and autonomous decision. This is a decision that a person chooses because they do not want to be a burden upon others or because of economical situation. This may turn from a right to die into a duty to die. So he looks both on the aspect of the person doing the deed, also on the victim, so to speak. They might feel like they should be doing that. So the most machmir person on this situation is Rav Eliezer Waldenberg in the Tzitz Eliezer. He has here, says Isur Likarev Misas Goses V'chomer Isur Retzach Mitochemla, talks about how Chaye Tsar, suffering is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying I agree with this, I'm just reading it. He quotes a Gemara in Sota, Daf Chaf Beis, that says that there's a certain zechus in the Isha Sota, and the lady who is a Sota who dies over not right away from the Mayim Ha'orim, from the bitter waters, but endures suffering. There is some kapara that she attains for that. And then he goes on and he says, Midin Svara, there's also Ein Adam Rashai Lachbol Ba'atzma. A person is not entitled to take somebody else's life because, it's not the nefesh of a person is not your kinyan, it's the kinyan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He quotes the Radbaz that we discussed in the first page, that our life is the kinyan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. An interesting tshuva was written by Rav Asher Weiss, and I just bring this here because it is perhaps one time that maybe there is such a concept of mercy killing when a bunch of a mob comes to a Jewish population and selects one person out and says, give us Mr. Plony or we'll kill everybody. So the Chazon Ish there says the reason why you're allowed to give that one person is because he's a rodef. He is now a rodef, so you're allowed to actually hand him over actively to the mob because he has a din of a rodef. But the Rav Asher Weiss disagrees, and he says he actually calls it that there's actually a mitzvah in that case. There's a mitzvah of somebody to give his life in order to save other people's lives. So this interesting, maybe there is a svara to say mercy killing could be allowed in a case where one person is trying to that there's a mitzvah on this person and he could save many lives. But we'll see coming up that it's not so clear. It's actually in a different shir. It's not so clear whether or not one person could sacrifice his life necessarily to save many people. It's not 100% clear, but anyway, it seems to be just a glance of that tshuva, which needs to be understood more deeply, it seems that that Rav Asher Weiss seems to say that you could actually hand over this person to the mob because there's a mitzvah for that person that just came about, that he could save many people. I don't know, I find that very complicated. And then the last page we'll go over specific halachas by euthanasia, and we're almost done.